Welcome to the Made in the Mist podcast, the podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. Now, please welcome your hosts, Emma, Sam, and Dan.
Welcome, everybody, to our first inaugural episode of the Made in the Mist podcast. Today, we have just Emma and myself here today. Sam's sick, but we have a very, very special guest. Really excited to have this person on today. And if you don't know what the podcast is about, the podcast is really just learning the lifestyle of entrepreneurs. You know, their tips and tricks, what makes them tick, and essentially anything that any life lessons they can give us, their secret sauce to success, and lessons that they learned that they wish they could have avoided. So welcome, Emma. Nice to hear from you again today. And our guest today is probably one of the most famous people in Niagara Falls. You see him on CHCH TV. You see him on TikTok. You see him on every platform possible. But he is the man of the hour. So please help me welcome Mr. Jim Diodati, Mayor of Niagara Falls. Welcome, Mr. Jim.
Thanks for having me, Dan and Emma. Appreciate it.
No. Thank you for joining us on an inaugural podcast here of Made in the Mist podcast. So, as I mentioned, we're really excited. I know that you're mayor. You've been mayor for a couple of years now. You know, serving our city and a big supporter of the innovation hub that we are in today. And the reason that we have this innovation hub, of course, was it was part of his platform a long time ago, and he brought it to fruition. And that's kind of the resilience that we've noticed from you is that before you became mayor, you were an entrepreneur. And you were a serial entrepreneur, and by serial I don't mean that you ate a lot of cereal, but that you used to have many businesses too. People I've known talked about you and how resilient you are. So why don't you just introduce yourself and kind of your childhood growing up in the region and your life as an entrepreneur?
Happy to do that, Dan. First off, I love the name, Made in the Mist. I think that's a very clever Made Niagara Falls name. Love it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to just tell you something. Growing up, I was a very average kid, Dan. There's nothing remarkable about me. I was a jack of all trades and sports, a master of none. I mean, I loved doing everything, but I wasn't great at anything. I mean, I played guitar, I played baseball, I did lots of different sports. We lived near a park. We backed onto the park, and that was our backyard. And we would get lost all day, and we would do everything at that park. And at that park, I mean, I learned so many things. One day I was out walking the dog, and a guy sees me that works for the St. Catharines Standard, asks if I'd like to be a newspaper carrier. Ended up becoming a Standard, St. Catharines Standard, which is now Tourist Star, carrier. And then I always like to have money. And at the park, you find ways to make money. So you could be a scorekeeper. Back in that day, you had to hang the numbers, right, for the inning and the score, or being a bat boy, or we'd help the guys that work, the maintenance guys at the park. We'd help them clean the park, pick up garbage. We'd do it just for a Loganberry drink. Or
Loganberry.
Right? Is that the best? Crystal Beach, Loganberry?
The best.
Shout out.
Oh, my God. An ice cold on a cold day out of the Jetstream machine.
Yes. God.
It would be amazing. And then I remember Mrs. Culp used to run the cantina, and she would hire kids to cut onions. And I'm talking huge relish jar. And these weren't the onions like today. These ones, you're crying, you're tearing, you couldn't breathe. And I remember, I had an old Russian lady lived across the street from me. She used to babysit us. She taught me and my brothers how to knit, crochet, how to take hangers. Back then, it was very multicultural. And have this old pieces of her and leftover material and fabric. And you make these cool things on your hangers so your clothes would hang on it. They wouldn't slide. But anyway, Vera, I remember her telling me, well, get some bread, put it in a bowl in front of you with some water. It didn't help. I tried everything. and I think back then you'd get a quarter for cutting this hole, and then she'd fry the onions with her burgers.
Wow.
And the things, we would do whatever to make a few bucks so that my family would rent a cottage up north, and I loved to go to one of the 5 and dime stores and just buy something that I could buy with my own money. I didn't have to ask my parents. And so I realized it's not that complicated. If you're willing to work, there is opportunity for everybody, anywhere, at any time. And you can't make excuses and be successful at the same time. You just got to decide, do you want to do it? And if you do, you do it. So that was me growing up. Not remarkable, but I did have a drive to have a few bucks in my pocket. And Dad was at work all day. Mom was a stay-at-home mom. And she'd tell us, go get lost, go have fun, go play. And we did. But I figured out one thing. I liked having a couple of bucks in my pocket. That was a good feeling.
And you think that was the driving force to make you become an eventual entrepreneur, is saying, listen, I can do this myself. I can make my own money, and I can pave my own path.
Well, so let's jump ahead a few years. Yeah. So I did a lot of things. I delivered different papers. I always deliver catalogs, whatever, to make a couple of bucks here, a couple of bucks there. And, I'd shovel driveways, cut grass, like whatever. If anyone needed something done, I would do it. And the other thing is, when I did something, I did a good job. I never cut corners. That's one thing I still, to this day, if I can't do it right, I won't do it.
Passionate.
Yeah, I'm very much. And I tell my kids the same way. If you're going to do it right. Otherwise, don't waste anyone's time. Do it right. So here I was in university, first year, and I saw this ad in the student newspaper, earn $10,000. So that's 1984.
Oh, it's like $1 million today.
Oh my God. In a summer, 10,000. Even now, my kids can't make 10,000 in a summer, all these years later, right? So imagine, this is a long time ago, 1984. And it had a perforated picture where your face goes there. And I thought, oh my God. So, and I'll tell you how naive I was. I didn't know anything. And so I asked my dad, what do you think about this? And run your own college pro painter franchise. He goes, oh, no, I don't know. And it's funny because I laugh. I was the last guy that got in because I was 18. I just turned 19. I think they were desperate. They gave me an area in Niagara called Lincoln, which went from Port Dalhousie and St. Catharines right to Winona, so Stony Creek. Yeah, and
that's a big area.
Huge area, a lot of farms, a lot of empty space between houses. It wasn't the number one area, like downtown St. Catharines. Those are the areas people wanted. Yeah. So anyway, they offered me the job, and here's how naive I was. I thought, well, I'm sitting in the biz schools, they're doing their presentation. I thought, well, gee, you get write-offs. And I thought, well, worst case, I said, so I get to buy a van and ladders. I get to write it off. In my mind, that meant I got that free. I didn't even know what write-off meant. So here I'm thinking, worst case, I end up with a truck and some ladders.
There you go.
So I missed the student venture capital loan window. So I had to go to my parents and I said, Dad, Mom, I need to borrow like $3,000. I said, I got to buy a van and some ladders. And my dad goes, 3,000. He goes, well, so the summer before I worked two jobs. I worked one, consumers distributing, which was a catalog store. And I also worked Niagara Parks Commission. So he goes, you worked two jobs. How much did you make last summer? And I said, I made about $2,000. He goes, okay. Have you ever painted before? And I said, well, I did the picnic table, Dad. And he goes, okay. And I said, well, Dad, I won't really be painting. He goes, oh, this is getting better by the minute. So let me get this straight. You're asking me for more money up front than you made all last summer to get into a business you've never done before. And you won't even actually be doing the painting of the business. You're going to hire a bunch of guys to run a business. You've never run a business before. I go, yeah, that does sound kind of crazy, doesn't it, Dad? And he goes, yeah. And I said, well, that's what I'm asking you. So I can tell you they were very nervous. My mother said, can't you just get a job like everybody else? And for me, those weren't the words I needed to hear. I said, Mom, I don't want to be like everybody else. I think I'd like to be my own boss. I'd like to go out and I said, I'm pretty committed and this and that, blah, blah, blah. So they lent me the money.
Wow.
And my dad, and at that time, interest rates were like 19%. Yeah. And I remember my dad was like, listen, you be respectful of this money. We worked hard for this money. He really read me the right act. So I'll tell you, I never forgot that day and those words. And I'll tell you, I did not spend a nickel on myself until I knew I was in a good place. So jump ahead 6 weeks into the summer. And so all my friends are going away for spring break. I'm going home doing estimates to, they're teaching you how to run the business, what you need to do. So 6 weeks into the summer, I've decided I made enough money to pay my parents back. So I remember it was a Sunday morning. I go in their room, their bedroom. I write them a check plus interest.
Wow.
And they're looking at me, and my mom goes, maybe you shouldn't. She didn't want me to do this in the first place. She said, maybe you should just hang on to it a little bit longer to make sure. I said, no, Mom, I'm good. And I'll tell you, I worked my butt off so much I would fall asleep in my dinner at night doing estimates. And the short come was my first summer. That summer I made $13,000.
Wow. So more than the ad.
More than the ad. And I had a bunch of guys working. We did a lot of big jobs like the Beacon, Prudhoms, Howard Johnson's. Back then you did indoor, outdoor, interior, exterior, and commercial. So I learned more in that summer than every school class I'd ever learned in university. I learned so much. And that's when I realized and I understood. It was like if you've ever seen the movie The Matrix. All of a sudden I saw The Matrix and I realized I can participate in this. I don't have to just watch it. I can be a player. And from then on, I realized it's just a decision.
Exactly.
Yeah, no. I mean, and that's it. Is that oftentimes to be successful is that you have to make sacrifices, and you look at the athletes that like Sidney Crosby was the same example where his friends were going away on vacation, he was at the rink. You gave us a similar example where like your friends were having fun doing stuff, and you had to sacrifice all that social life to really get ahead, and nothing that successful doesn't come without making these sacrifices.
And you have to be fearless in that. Never fear failure, because, and I say this to my kids over and over again, failure is not the opposite of success. It is a necessary part of success. And if you don't fail, as my friend, one of the guys went to school with, his dad owned Pizza, Michael Overs, and he said, if you don't fail, you just don't shoot high enough. So failure is a part, and I can tell you, I joke with my kids, I've written the book on failure. I'm the biggest screw up going. I add chapters every week. And I said, but the thing is, making mistakes is part of learning and becoming wiser. I said, but if you repeat the mistakes, now you're an idiot and you deserve to be punished.
Absolutely.
The universe will give you that chance to make that mistake until you learn the lesson. Once you learn the lesson, it's like the cat, right? Once it sits on the hot stove, it'll never do it again.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you got to learn first. So when my kids would come home and maybe they failed a paper or they did something, they're really upset and they're waiting for my reaction. And the first thing I ask them is, what did you learn? And if they can't answer that question, now I'm mad. And if they say, well, I should have done this, I should have done that. And I said, okay, it's a lesson. It's a life lesson. It's a good thing you got to learn it. Lucky you. And don't make that mistake again. And that's how I treat failure. So I tell people failure is a good thing. Don't hide from it. Embrace it. It's your friend. It's your teacher in life.
Yeah, they say if you're not failing, sometimes you're not trying even too. Exactly.
Emma, you're exactly right. Yeah. You're not trying. And you've got to reach for the stars. You've got to reach for things that you really have no business reaching. It's like if anything you do, when you look back at what you did and then what you could do, there's an evolution that takes place.
And it's like you said, you kind of blocked out, but when your mom even was warning you, it's like, are you sure you want to do this? And that's that like doubtful, but you're like, no, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to try. So.
And that was it. My mom and my dad are the yin and the yang. My dad's like, go for it. You can do anything. Except my dad always said, it wasn't for your mother. She saved the money. We wouldn't. And so my dad's go for it. My mom is like, just keep it close to the vest. And so I'm a bit of a product of both of my parents. They had and they still have a big influence on me. My dad's my mentor. My mom's my conscience. And the two of them, I can hear their voices all the time when I make decisions. And so I hope my kids will do the same thing. What would dad say? What would mom say? So put it through those filters.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. But again, it's all about being uncomfortable, right? And really pressing yourself and pushing yourself to your limit to achieve those goals. Because if you're not, then you're stagnant. And when you get stagnant, then life just passes you by.
You're exactly right. And keep things fresh, set goals, set new goals. Don't be comfortable. And I'll tell you something else. I had a life-changing situation 4 years ago when we turned out I had cancer. But again, I don't see anything as a curse. I always see one of my mentors, and my advice to people is have a lot of mentors. And it doesn't have to be a successful business owner. It could be, an uncle, an aunt. It could be your barber. It could be anybody.
It could be your mayor.
It could, yeah. God help you. So, but yeah, and you should have many mentors. And one of my mentors said to me before, it's all the way you deal with things that come to you. And he said, when something happens to you that you don't think is good, rather than asking, why is this happening to me? Ask instead, what am I supposed to learn from this? And he said, you have a whole different attitude about things that happen in your life. And so when that happened to me, I kept saying, what am I supposed to learn from this? And let me tell you, I've always been positive and optimistic and grateful, but I am so much more. And an example is maybe I'd complained before because my kids, I got three great kids. And they would say, maybe I'd be upset that they ate all the yogurt in the fridge. Well, now I'm grateful that they're healthy enough that they can eat yogurt.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm so grateful. And then I'll tell you, at one point I was so sick. I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, the same one that Mario Lemieux had. And it was 7 months of chemo, and I lost a ton of weight, all my hair. Like I looked real, when I look at pictures, oh my God, I was green. It was ugly. And at one point, I could not walk from the couch to another chair. My energy, my blood cell count, like it was horrible. And then now that I'm fully back, I've been 3 years cancer free. I'm very healthy.
Congratulations. That's huge.
Oh,
news.
huge. But let me tell you, every time. So I'll be able to shovel in the driveway, cutting the grass, doing whatever. I'll do my neighbors too. I'll do a couple more people. And you know why? Because I can. And I give thanks. I'm very spiritual. And whatever you believe in, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, Allah, whatever, everyone, I surrender to the fact there's a much higher power and that you should be grateful. And I'm grateful that I have my energy again and my strength again. And every time I'm so happy that I could do things for other people, that it isn't work, it's pleasure for me because I can do it. Once you've been in that situation where you can't, I have to tell you, it was horrible. And I never want to go back there. And that's why
you won't.
And no, I won't. I said, and then even my oncologist said, oh, don't worry, you'll go back to the way you were. And I said, oh, I won't let myself. I remind myself every single day how grateful I am throughout my day of everything. This moment, sitting here with the three of you, I'm grateful. The fact that we've got this amazing hub, that we've got such great young leadership, I'm grateful. The fact that you actually want me here, you're not trying to keep me away, I'm grateful. I'm telling you, you can be grateful for so much. And you just need to look around. And so we'll do that with our kids at, whatever, if it's Thanksgiving, and we'll say, everybody name one thing you're grateful for. And we'll do that. And it just forces people to look at things a little bit differently.
Absolutely. And I can, relate to that too, because, it's all about changing your perspective. And once you change your perspective, things don't become work. Things become, just part of your everyday routine. Like it's something like people hate shoveling the driveway. I love shoveling the driveway. Actually, it's you get exercise.
Yep. Right.
You're doing something good. You get some fresh air. Right. So you look at the benefits of it. Like, hey, this isn't too bad. Now I can exercise, burn off some calories, and I have fun doing it. So I really love that. It's just changing your perspective to make it something that it becomes, you're passionate about. And when you're passionate about, then you put more effort in. And one thing that my grandfather always used to say is that if you don't do something 110%, then don't do it at all. Yeah. And that could be everything. That could be from, cooking your dinner, to your work, to, even some of the adult things that we do. If you don't do it 110%, then don't do it at all, because you're just wasting your time, because you're not going to be happy with the product or your end result.
You're 100% right. Your grandfather was bang on, a wise man. And even, the way you love your family, give them all. Don't hold back, because you know what? There's no promise of tomorrow.
Absolutely not.
You don't know what's around the corner, so don't hold back. And whatever you do right. And I say to my kids, your reputation's all you got. Long after you're gone, the only thing that stays around is your reputation.
Absolutely.
So what's it going to be? What are people going to say about you when you're not there? What do they say about you when you're not there? And I said, be honest. What are they going to say? And that's why I tell them, I said, you give it all you got. And like you nailed it, Dan. If you're passionate about what you do, you love what you do, it's never work. I'll tell you, I probably put in 80 to 100 hours a week. And they always say, slow down. And I work out 4 days a week. Said, you make it work. You make it work. And I'll offer some constructive suggestion too for anyone listening. One of the best bits of advice I received early on, my vice president for College Pro Painters, and I've owned a number of businesses throughout the years.
College Pro Painters?
Yeah, that was my first one.
I thought you said College Pro Painters. Like, holy, there's a lot of propane that people need. Pro Painters.
Yeah, Pro Painters.
Yes.
And I've owned dance clubs, a bakery distribution companies, a lot of different things. But my first experience, so I'm 19 now, I'm sitting down with my VP of College Pro Painters and Mark McKenzie. And it's funny, we still stay connected. Him and his wife were down. We visited just before COVID. And I really learned from all my managers, all my bosses. I learned what I like and what I don't like, and I want to keep the good things. And anyway, one thing he said to me, he goes, I need to meet with you. I'm worried about you. You're going to have manager burnout. I said, manager burnout? I'm 19. What am I going to burn out? And he said, no, I've seen it before. We need to meet. I need you to bring your day planner. And I said, my day planner. Of course, this is before smartphones. I said, is that the book with the calendar in it? He goes, yes. So everything was in my head, which I realize now that's a really bad idea. You need to be very organized, and nobody can remember everything. You just can't. So he brought my calendar, and the first thing he said to me was, he goes, all right, first off, how much do you want to make this summer? And I said, well, I want to be at least average. I want to make 10 grand. And at that time, of course, that was 5 times more than I'd ever made before. So I felt like I was rich. So he said, okay. We did the math backwards. So we knew exactly the math that to make this much, you make this much a labor hour. You're going to be about 40% success rate for all the quotes that you're going to actually land the job. The average job is going to be this many hours. We worked it all the way back to, all right, Jim, then you need to knock on 3 doors a day and you'll make 10,000 this summer. I was like, oh my God, you're kidding. It was like, it was a simple math equation. And he said, and if you do 4 a day. So I said, okay. So we did that. And of course, you know, I had better. And then my second year, I did even better. But regardless, I said, okay. He goes, but before we start, let's start off with what makes Jim Diodati a happy camper. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, what do you like to do? And I said, well, I like to go to the gym. He goes, okay, when? I said, well, like, I don't know, 3 days a week, you know, okay. How long? Well, I don't know, maybe 90 minutes plus a shower. Okay.
That's a good gym session. 90
Yeah,
minutes.
that was
Wow.
pretty good, right? Yeah, that was
Holy.
pretty
Good thing you have that energy. 20 minutes, I'm done. Yeah.
So we put it in my calendar. And he goes, what else do you like to do? Back then, we used to like to go to the beach. When? I said Sundays. Like the guys, we used to like to go on Sunday. Okay, all right, what else? I said, well, maybe there's a date in there. You know, if it's a good week, you know. He goes, what night? I said, well, I don't know, Thursday or Friday. Okay. What else? We have finally hit the point. There's nothing else. He goes, there's nothing, anything else you like to do? I go, no, I think that's everything. He goes, so if all these happen every week, will you be happy? I said, yeah. He goes, all right, now let's plan your work. We planned my work around my stuff I needed, my happy spot.
Wow.
And here's what happened. At the end of the summer, I made all the money I wanted to make, and I was happy. I had my life in balance. And to this day, so when I started in the mayor's office, I remember my assistant who does my calendars, she said, at one point I said, is my gym workout? Where's my gym workout? And she goes, oh, I took it out. It was just a gym workout. And I said, oh no, you can't do that. Only I do that. That's as much for my mental as it is my physical.
Oh, absolutely.
So she said, yeah, but how do you get the energy? I said, no, you don't understand. Working out doesn't take energy. It gives you energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's cathartic. It's mind clearing. It's so good in so many ways. I said, oh no, that's my happy space that I can escape and get the serotonin pumping, clear my head. Anyway, ever since, now it's funny how they do it in the office. I said, first schedule what's important to you. And I said, everything else will happen around it and you'll be a happy camper.
Well, and I completely agree. And one of the philosophies I live by is that nobody ever dies with their to-do list done. Everybody always has stuff that they have to do. So if you're trying to get everything done in one day, it's not going to happen, and you're not going to be happy. And if you're skipping exercise, I'm a big component, a believer in exercise. I ask these people every lunch I work out because it's my time where I can de-stress.
Yep.
I can regain my focus,
Yep.
and I can just kind of let the anger, let the frustration out in the form of exercise, and then get energized after. I don't need afternoon coffee after you exercise because you do it. So I'm a big believer in that, and I'm also a big believer in that. The more organized you are, the less stress you have.
Yes.
But with the caveat in is that if something doesn't get done, you can't stress about that.
No.
Just to move it on to the next day.
Yep.
Like I have I think 5 to-do lists. Okay, this is my house to-do list. This is my business. This is work. This is blah 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 blah. But staying organized and ensuring that you have enough time to complete the tasks that you're doing, I think that really helps you stay motivated, stay on top, and not get burnt out, as you mentioned. So now I just want to move on to another question here, and that obviously you're a big advocate for Niagara Falls, and the region in general. But why would you say that Niagara is the ideal spot for a lot of these entrepreneurs to start compared to going to Toronto or Waterloo or New York, Chicago, any of the big cities, or Silicon Valley for that matter? Why would you think Niagara Falls is an ideal place to start?
Well, I believe Niagara Falls has everything you need to be successful. First off, the brand Niagara, one of the most powerful brands in the world. And I've been blessed to travel all over the world. I've been all over China and India and Dubai and Korea and Romania and so many interesting places. And I've never yet met a person who didn't instantly know Niagara Falls.
Oh, I completely agree. Every time I'm from Niagara Falls, it's just as famous as, say, New York City.
Oh, yeah. Just as famous, just as big a brand. I say we're the Coca-Cola of municipalities. And it's funny because I've traveled with the premier in China at one point. I remember with a bunch of their Toronto people. And of course, Toronto is the center of the universe in Canada. And I get that. But I try to explain to them. But out in the big world, I said a lot of people never even heard of Toronto. They don't know if it's something you eat. And I'll tell you a funny story. I was in a number of situations. I'll tell you one quick one. I was with the Premier McGuinty before, and he was telling the story. He goes, I'm in Beijing. I'm addressing thousands of business people in this one room. I'm using an interpreter, and I'm trying to explain who I am. I'm the Premier of Ontario. Okay, what's Ontario? What's a Premier? And so he goes, we have 15 million people. He goes, No reaction, because I thought that'd get a reaction. But in China, that's a village.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's like 15 million, yeah. So then he goes, and I've got big cities like Toronto with 4.6 million. And again, that's a family. So nobody's too impressed. No one's reacting, and he's concerned the interpreter isn't doing their job. Well, the fact is they just weren't impressed. So he goes, I'm talking about the CN Tower. I finally panicked. I didn't know what to say. And I said, I have Niagara Falls. He goes, I got a standing ovation. And let me tell you, Emma, Dan, when I was there, I was a rock star because I was from Niagara Falls.
Oh, for sure.
And do you know how many people from Toronto, when they're in Asia and different places around the world, they have to say it's near Niagara Falls?
Yeah, absolutely.
So number one, it answers the brand. We got the biggest brand. Number two, right next to the biggest, most powerful country in the world, the U.S. We're right on their border. We share the name Niagara Falls with them. Number two, we're a stone's throw to Toronto, one of the hottest economic zones in North America. We're right sandwiched between Toronto and New York City. I mean, we're in the absolute perfect place. Our climate here is incredible. I always joke, the quality of life here is outstanding. A traffic jam is 6 cars. Crime is paying too much for your peaches. I mean, and the quality of life that you have here is, you just can't touch it. We've got rail, we've got canals, waterways, lakes, we've got rivers, we have beauty, we've got the birthplace of hydroelectric energy. We're the number 1 leisure destination in Canada. I mean, all the opportunity. Yet before, when I first got to the region, they used to say, yeah, Niagara, older, sicker, poor, less educated. I go, well, no, there's a moniker to attract people. I thought, what are you guys doing? Bruh, that's not how you sell.
No.
Who that's not, and I said, you got to start with where you want to be and who you want to be. Like Don King, I'm the greatest, or Muhammad Ali. State what you want to be before you are, and you will become. And I always said this, Niagara, we're going to get the GO train. We're going to get all these things, and they'll line up at our door. And what's happening? They're lining up at our door.
Absolutely.
Everybody wants a piece of Niagara.
Oh, absolutely. And even just like you said, the quality of life, being able to, open your back door and have a yard to go to. I mean, during COVID, I couldn't imagine being stuck in a condo in downtown, any downtown city, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and one thing that COVID has taught is that nowadays with the internet, you can run a successful business anywhere. You can be in none of it and still run a successful business. So why not Niagara, right? Why not Niagara? Why not have the quality of life, but still be able to run a great business too? So I completely agree. I think I see Niagara as kind of a petri dish. You have every single sector you want for innovation. You have agriculture, you have medical with the new hospital coming. You have tourism, which is such a hard sector to reach in a lot of these cities that are landlocked or whatever. They don't have a tourist destination. So I completely agree. I think this is the start to something great. And I think that, obviously with your support for the Innovation Hub, I think that a lot of great things can happen and are happening here as well, too. So I agree. Emma, do you have any? I know she was an entrepreneur herself, too, actually. So
Yes. Yeah, my background's actually in produce.
Oh.
I had a produce business, and I had my beginnings with our partner down the street, the Small Business Enterprise Center.
Yes.
So yes, and that was my beginnings here. That I did all of my own marketing, my own produce. I also bought a van. I bought my papa's van when I was 16, and it was just my sister and I, and just drove around all over the Niagara region, buying everything, going back to Stevensville, because Stevensville, it's all clay. There's not a lot of produce out there, and selling fruit all day. It got me through college. It got me a car. And I even got me my degree, technically, or my diploma, because I did an entrepreneurial co-op.
Good for you.
Yeah. And then it brought me here. It brought me all my experience, came full circle.
See, and so and it's funny, my dad, that produce was his background. That's what he did his whole life. And we used to laugh. My dad there'd be fruit and vegetable in our house. We didn't know whether to eat it or kill it. And we're like, Dad, what is that? We're going to eat it. I don't think so, Dad. I don't know if that's a good idea. But and my dad used to always say to me, people have to eat. There's other things that are optional, but they have to eat. And because produce is a good food choice versus some people that make bad choices, things that are bad for you and more expensive. Yeah. Right? Things with nitrates and everything else. But produce, good for you. Good for you. And now all the tools you learned surviving, you and your sister, you bring those to your next. And this is the key. I always tell people, you don't know. You are learning how to use tools and develop tools, and you're going to use them somewhere else. And people are going to say, wow, you're amazing. You're like, I learned that in the produce business.
Yeah, seriously. Even just like margins and like just general things. And of course I had, my mother, my amazing mother, is a CPA, an accountant, and she was obviously very helpful with structure and all that, but she let me learn a lot of it. Like she let me take it and run with it. And it was amazing. But even then, having the support from the Small Business Enterprise Center, doing the summer company program, that money made a huge difference too. So that was something like a resource that was huge that I could only really get from like Niagara Falls. There was nothing else from where I was a resident that was really useful for me. But actually with that, I kind of want to ask you a question that through your whole journey as an entrepreneur, if you had access to, our innovation hub today or like a business incubator, what would have been like the biggest resource to you that, would have been amazing, whether it is extra mentorship or, just having a physical space to locate? What would it be for you?
That's a great question. So the first thing is, if I want to get better at tennis, I play with someone better than me. Right. And you just look at your friends in your circle, and that's going to average your future income. So I didn't know, a lot of my friends weren't into this. They just wanted to get a job or go party. And I was done with that. I wanted to move on and do other things. So the first thing, I want to hang around like-minded people. And then that's why when I got into College Pro, I met other people who thought like I did. And I was like, oh my God, I always thought I was a freak. And I realized other people want to do better too. And other people are into inspirational quotes and motivational thoughts. And I thought, oh, people like me. And then the other thing, then I can ask them, hey, where do you get this? Where do you get that? I would love to be able to, like some of the businesses I started, I didn't have a computer, but I didn't have to buy a computer. If I did have to have some business meetings, because I had to do interviews to hire people, if I had a place to do it, where I'd go to the coffee shop and I'd go interview them. And it wasn't that great, wasn't that professional. And if I could access money and mentors, oh my gosh. So I found mentors, like one of my mentors, he owned one of the first McDonald's in the Niagara region on Ontario Street, Mike Katz. And eventually him and Jana owned a whole bunch of them. And now their kids own a bunch of them. But Mike was one of my first mentors. He taught me how to write a letter of reference. I didn't know how to write one. He taught me how to buy, and how to negotiate. He was a real smart negotiator. And he'd make fun of me too. Like, we're still great friends to this day. And all my mentors are still my mentors. And he was one of my business mentors. And it's funny. I tried to get into another food franchise to partner with at one point I owned a non-alcoholic club for teen franchise. And I tried to partner with places where they went to eat, fast food places. And the one says, we don't do stuff like that. I want to do cross-merchandising co-promotion. We don't do that. And I thought, oh my gosh. And then when I met the guy from McDonald's, and I thought, this guy wants to work with me, this little nobody. And I'll tell you, so I remember that. And now I help mentor anybody who needs it, because I realize how he treated me. I'll never forget that. And he was very successful, still is. He's made a huge donation to our hospital. And he's just a great human being. And I appreciate that. So I think that would be the other thing, is to be around mentors. I wish that it wasn't around then. I didn't even know what I needed. I just knew I need someone who can tell me things, but I didn't know it was called a mentor. So you have it built in. To me, you got one-stop shop here now. Like, if you want to do something with your life, all you got to do is show up and just catch it. You're going to catch what's going on here.
Absolutely. And then, surrounding yourself with people, that are in the same, space as you, right? And that, as excellent as you are, that's the way to do it. So by having, like you said, a one-stop shop here, I think that can provide a lot of opportunity for people that we're looking for, to become entrepreneurs and innovators too. That's a great question, Emma.
That was a great question. And the energy here, like, it's contagious. You show up here, it's like going to a gym versus working out at home. People go, why don't you just work out at home? Because everyone's working out. You're motivated. Exactly. You get caught up in the excitement, like going to a concert or going to a movie. Like my kids just took me to see Top Gun. To hear everybody laughing at the same time or yelling at the same time or cheering, there's something about
it's contagious.
It's contagious. And we're human beings. We need that personal contact. And coming around this energy of this place that you guys have developed here, you guys have done an incredible job. I'll tell anyone who thinks they may be entrepreneurial or want to be entrepreneurial or just have an idea and you don't know what to do with it, because that's most people. They have a good idea, they don't know what to do with it, and they don't know and they're afraid of failure. So what do? Nothing. Absolutely. They do nothing. They die with this dream inside of them. And I would say, you know what? None of us get out of life alive. Don't die with that dream inside of you. Get it out. Do something with it. You've been given this gift. And I tell anyone, come down here to this place. This place is special. It's got an energy that you can't touch, but you feel it. And you know it's here. And you leave with it and you bring your energy. So you'll feed into it.
Absolutely. The amount of passion here, like even just talking to anyone you come across upstairs in our common co-working area. It's they're so passionate about their businesses, and everyone's just open to collaboration. And I like what you said, even with like partnering with like community, other people in your community, like-minded people. It's the best way to build more and more on the brand and more recognition for that.
And build skills, like these soft skills that you were talking about. Like these aren't stuff that you learn in academic institutions like your college and universities. These are things that you have to learn from mentors and people giving you wisdom on how they ran their business and the mistakes they've made and the things that they've done better that help them succeed. So I completely agree. You surround yourself around these types of people. They're the ones that are going to take you to the next step. So before we wrap up, I know that we're getting close to our end here. So if you can give top 5 tips and tricks or advice for people starting out or people wanting to start in the entrepreneurial world, what would they be?
Okay, well,
or if you have more than 5, I mean,
maybe I don't even have 5. I don't know, but I'll tell you a few of the key ones that I focus. Number one, we already talked about, was do not fear failure. Embrace it, welcome it. It's your friend. It's not your enemy. And once you look at things in those terms, you have a different attitude toward it. And even with my cancer, number one, I always spelled it with a lowercase c. Second thing, one of my brothers, both my brothers, I've got sister and 2 brothers, and both my brothers are cops. And the one brought me this shirt and it said, F cancer, right? Yeah. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to wear that, Rich, and don't take this the wrong way, because I'm not fighting anything, because then I give it my energy. I'm going to be getting healthier. So I just spun it around a little bit and I focused on getting healthy. And every day I'd say, thank you for giving me my health. Thank you for healing me, top of my head to bottom of my feet. And I refuse to give my energy to anyone or anything that's negative. I just, it is what it is, but I'm focused on where I'm going. And that's why when you look in your front windshield is a lot bigger than your rear view mirror. And the reason is your focus needs to be on where you're going. And I'll tell you, because in driving, they'll teach you in driver's school, where you look is where you drive. And if you're looking in the ditch, that's where you're going to end up. So you have to decide where you want to be before you start. So first off, I'd say, do not fear failure. Second thing, start with the end in mind. Decide where you want to go, what you want to be. Question to ask yourself, one of my mentors said to me before, if money, time, and failure were not an issue, what would you do? Wow. And then you stop for a second and then do it. So basically what he's saying is all of your excuses have been removed. If there were no excuses, what would you do? That is what's inside of you that you should be doing. The rest is just distracting you from what you should be doing. The next thing is, I'd say Sheldon Levy. He's the architect of the Ryerson Incubation Hub, the DMZ, Digital Media Zone. That guy took that from nothing and made it number 1 in the world, all over the world, from Israel, China, all over the world. And I remember we were trying to get this started here, and we kept getting problems, and we didn't get the funding. And he said, the best advice I can give you is just start. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just start. And he kept saying that to us. So finally, and he's still heavily involved, and we still talk to him regularly, and he's still mentoring us, and he's still done so many brilliant things. We started. He said, do you know, we lost out on our funding for the first time. He goes, then the federal government had to catch up to us for what we were doing. The key is just to start, because you get this forward momentum. Next thing I'd say, surround yourself with people who are better than you. Seek out mentors, seek out coaches, seek out anybody that can help you move the ball forward. And don't be afraid to ask people for help. People want to help, but you got to ask for it. And the next thing I'd say is be humble. Always be humble. Never toot your own horn. A word I never knew before is called edification, or to edify somebody. And that's to say wonderful, great things about somebody else. And one of my mentors said to me, well, Jim, what sounds better? You talking about how great you are, or someone else talking about how great you are? And I said, oh. And he goes, so you edify them and you talk about how wonderful. He goes, you don't lie. You tell the truth, but you talk about all the wonderful, great attributes this person has. He goes, then what are they going to do? And I said, what are they going to do? He goes, well, they're going to now do the same to you. And he says, and do it when they're not even there, because word will get back to them. And when they find out, really? He said that about me? And I'll tell you, I will say that. I'll say it to somebody, as an example, Dan Bordnavi. Oh, man, this guy is this guy walks on water. I was in shock. He wasn't 10 foot tall when I met him. And I don't know if it's true that he walks on water. I don't know if he's bulletproof.
Seen it yet.
But I definitely want to see. But then you talk like that, and you know what people do? they will fulfill your expectations. They will live up to that. And then they will say, is that what he said? Really? Well, let me tell you something about that mayor. I'll tell you something else. Forget what I said yesterday. That mayor is so edification in saying these positive things, but never believe the press. Never let yourself get too big. Stay humble. And I'll tell you, our family, nobody's heads get too big. I'll tell you a real quick funny story here. My dad was in produce. He won an award, Canadian Produce Man of the Year award. He got it in Vancouver. Him and my mom flew out. They got this big chalice. I went over to the house to see it, so I'm visiting them, and so finally I said, "Dad, where's your award?" He goes, it's in the laundry room." So I said, "Okay, yeah." So and I didn't. We're watching TV, and I said, "Yeah." So finally we're talking a bit, and I go, "Did you say the laundry room?" He says, "Yeah." I go, "Why is it in the laundry room?" He goes, "Oh, your mother, she's using it." And I said, "Okay." So honestly, he just strung me along. It was beautiful. He's a great storyteller. And I said, "What's she using it for?" He said, "Her clothespins." And I said, "Her clothespins?" And he says, "Yeah." So I'm thinking, what are you talking about? And he goes, "Yeah, it's your mother's way of reminding me not to forget where I came from."
There you go.
Right? And that's our family will keep you. My mother always reminds me, don't you forget where you came from. Stay humble. My dad constantly, stay humble, stay humble. And so that's the key is don't believe the press, stay humble. And then the last thing I'd say is plan and state your goals and put them in writing and read them every day, reaffirm them every day on where you want to be. Don't be afraid to change your goals, to add to your goals, but never take away from them. If you decide, and I tell my kids, they all have dream boards you can cut out pictures, you can clip art, put it in your phone. What do you want in your life? Because it sounds crazy, but it's like the Matrix. Whatever you imagine is going to be happen. Be careful of your dreams because they will happen. I said, and if it's a white picket fence and a dog and 2.2 kids, if that's what you want, great, go do it. If you want to travel the world, great, go do it. And a lot of people mistake money as bad. People even quote the Bible and say, money is the root of all evil. It says it right in the Bible. And I said, no, actually, that's a misquote. It's the love of money. That's the root of all evil. Money's great.
It's greed.
Yeah, exactly. Greed is bad. But money, you can do wonderful things for people with money. They call it cold, hard cash. It's not cold. And it's not hard. You can take money and do beautiful things. You can help the homeless. You can help your church. You can help your family. You can help friends. You can do so much with it. Don't mistake success with being mean. And as long as you stay humble and you share all your blessings, and remember, reach back. Somebody helped you get up. Make sure you reach back and help that next person get up. And that's paying it forward. And I think if you follow those rules, you'll be successful, you'll be balanced, you'll be happy, and people will be happy for your success. They won't make fun of you. They'll make sure, because you got to be generous with what your blessings are, because you have blessings. And the question is, what do you do with them? Do you share them? Do you hoard them? So I tell people, just make sure whatever gifts you've been given, share them.
Of course. I mean, and that's a great philosophy, and I really resonate with writing stuff down. In fact, every year for my quote-unquote New Year's resolutions, what I do is at my desktop computer at home, my screensaver is just my goals for that year. So that every time I walk by that computer, I'm reminded of my goals. And some of them are like, control your anxiety, right? Or whatever. You want to make a certain amount of money per year and just have it there so that every day you're reminded of that as well, but use it as motivation. So I think those are fantastic. And I think I learned a new word today, and edification. I'm not going to ask you to spell that, spelling bee, but
Edification. And it was a word I'd never heard of. And I remember thinking, why would I say great things about Emma? Like, I should talk about myself. And so many of my life's lessons were 180s. I had it exactly wrong, completely wrong. Just like you're fighting something. No, you're not. You're giving it your energy. Like so many things in life, I had like a mirror. I was doing it wrong. And being grateful for things before they happen. And then they will happen. Absolutely. There's so many great. And then one last funny story. And I've got so many. Here's the other thing. Facts tell, but stories sell. Always tell a story. People love a story, and ask for permission. I'll say, can I tell you a quick story? And then my kids, I go, guys, I want to, and they know, you're like some.
It's not a quick story.
No, never. No, but they'll always like, Dad, you're like some village leader. Like, you just tell stories. I go, my life is nothing but a series of stories. this guy decided, and we're going to go back to, back when Cadillacs were the car, and he wanted this big, beautiful Cadillac. And his wife said, "You're never going to get it. You're a dreamer." And so he put a picture on the mirror. So every day he brushed his teeth, he looked at that Cadillac, and he just had this visual. And this is why your dream board and what you're doing, Dan. For all the things you want, because you will get them, every one of them. And then some. And he said, pardon me?
Manifestation.
Manifestation, 100%. It's the power of intention. And I say, this is the other thing I want to add in. Fill your mind constantly. Like, okay, listen to the radio once in a while. Listen to podcasts. Listen to motivational, inspirational. All my likes on Instagram, I'll read like 10 in a row. They're all these positive, and they could be from athletes. They could be from some, person that lives on a mountain. Doesn't matter. Anyone with positive, inspirational. So anyway, back to the story. So the guy put a picture of the Cadillac on the mirror. So he shaved, he'd look at it, he'd brush his teeth, he'd comb his hair, he'd look at it, always look at it. He imagined himself driving it. He imagined the smell of the leather. He imagined the sound system. And his wife took it, put it in the drawer and said, "You're a dreamer." He came the next day, put it back in the mirror, and he kept doing this. Went on for a period of time. Finally, the one day, she's laying in bed and she hears this noise outside, and then she hears this loud honking noise, and she looks and she opens up the curtains. She looks out the window. She can't believe her eyes. It's her husband with his head out of the moonroof in the big Cadillac, the exact one that he had in the mirror. And she goes, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I got it. I finally got the Cadillac. Remember the one?" And they said it was unbelievable how he manifested it. So the next day when he went to shave and brush his teeth, there's a picture of a fancy outfit that his wife had put on the mirror.
There you go.
So it works.
Yeah,
and there'll be doubters, but they'll come around when they see your success. Promise you.
That is fantastic. That's actually a fantastic way to end our inaugural podcast on Made in the Mist. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, for coming on and sharing such inspirational stories. I mean, and such heartfelt stories too that many of us can relate to and those that we can't relate to. But the way that you've completely, like you said, did a 180 with your life, turned it around, and just manifested everything you wanted to do, but accomplished it too. So we're really excited that you're running again for mayor again. We really like to have you. You have all of our vote for sure. And like I said, we're happy that you're a big supporter of us and the things that we do. And likewise, we're a big supporter of you and the things you've done. And we just hope that this relationship continues and that, you keep doing great things for the city of Niagara Falls and for us as well. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. I want to thank you for inviting me, giving me an opportunity to share, and for all that you're doing, because you're changing lives like ripples in a pond. You'll never know how far your impact is going to go and the people you're going to touch. And I'm grateful that you included me. Thank you.
We're just paying it forward.
There you go.
Well done.
Well, thank you so much. And then if you want to listen to our podcast, Emma, if you want the details of our podcast.
So our official channel is Spark Innovation Canada, but we will label it under like the Made of the Mist as a playlist. And
Made of the Mist or Made in the Mist?
Made in the Mist.
We don't have the copyrights for Made of the Mist.
I gotta get that. Made in the Mist. Yeah. But yeah, our handle on Spotify, Apple Music, it's Spark Innovation Canada.
Love it.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, and catch us for our next podcast. We have Paula Girardi, another amazing entrepreneur in the beauty business, who became a lobbyist for Ontario and has done many great things. So thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.